Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, November 2nd, Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Mary, would you call the roll, please?
Steve Hinnick.
Here.
Mitzi Rosillian. Tracy Miller. Jennifer Peterson. John Reardon. Bobby Stoffer. John Weitzel. Not here yet.
Well, we'll wait till he shows up to log him in. Very well, thank you, Mary. Not seeing too many folks in the public this evening. Are there any emails or anything else coming in to comment tonight, Mary?
No.
Well, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to our new old business. And this evening we have a COA for design review at 213 North Montana, the old Dugandolan Mortuary. Could you give us a brief overview of their project, Mary?
I would love to, thank you. It's had a little leg. So you all know it's just across the street here. I thought this was an interesting photograph to see the building from above, so you can sort of see its many additions. You know, the central core is the historic Lee Mantle Mansion. The core of that building was built in the mid-1880s. It was enlarged and greatly embellished to a very elegant Queen Anne residence in 1892, which was the design work of H.M. Patterson. And then it became a mortuary first in the late 20s. I imagine that's when they added those big columns to the front porch. And then they kept adding on. You know, there's the big garage, heated garage in the back. There's additions. You know, the porch was extensively redone. It looks like the 50s to me, and then there's additions on both the north and south side. But you can still see the core of that historic building a little bit. Here they are together side by side. And the new owner is Mike Riley. He has been working on it on the inside. He says he's going to make it into a home for foster children. Whatever. Good to see you.
So read the John Weitzel into the meeting, please.
Yes. But the main things that he wants to do right now is re-roof it, which is very exciting because this, more than anything, this, I put this picture in so you can see a little better the, deteriorated condition of the roof. The shingles are curling. And then he's already done some masonry work. Can see this building, the roof outside my window at work, and I looked up at those chimneys all the time, and they were, you know, the upper courses were falling apart, and he's already done that masonry work. That's not part of his URA grant, and that's why we're looking at this, is because he's getting a URA grant. But they did a pretty good job on repointing those chimneys. So anyway, so they want to put new roofs in. Then they want to, there's a combination of newer vinyl windows and then lots of historic windows, wood sash windows in there, and they want to just repair the existing wood sash windows. It includes a variety of types. So here on the left, you see up at that turret, the upper level, you have those curved glass windows. And then that other side is the south facade. One of the specialty windows you could see there is that multi-light window and that little hip roof dormer. He just wants to repair the wood sashes. They're going to just replace broken panes of glass. Otherwise, they will retain the existing glazing. And I didn't see any broken panes of glass, but and he just wants to sand them down, repair any damage with wood epoxy, sand again, prime and paint. They also want to do that with some of the other wood elements like the columns, the bases. There's some cracks and some of the crown molding and stuff along the roof eave. So and then they want to do some brick pointing. They want to sand and repaint these front doors, which are, non-historic. And then they want to do some repointing. Here's the picture on the right is some of that damaged, what I think is 1950s brick, and they're just going to repoint it and put it back in. There's just a little bit of masonry work that they have to do on the historic red brick masonry walls. And he is going to match the mortars, match the color of including in composition, texture, and tooling, and color. And I don't think there's any brick replacement on this. So it's just these basic things, but I think it's good work and is necessary work for this building. And so I recommend approval of this project.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone care to comment on this project? John?
I just have I wasn't here, what are they going to use this building for?
It's going to be a place where they shelve children.
Okay.
I don't think he's really thought it through, because I think if you have a foster children, you have to have foster parents there to take care of them. I think, it is really, I've been in it before Mr. Riley had it. There was a lot of water damage inside. He's taken a lot of that plaster down. He's got a very long ways to go. There, all electrical, plumbing, heating. But the main core, the historic core of that house really is pretty spectacular. And I think, in the long run, maybe he'll make it into an apartment or offices. The one thing, there is that garage in the back. It's a heated garage, so there is a lot of parking. I don't know where the mortuary part of the mortuary is. Maybe they could.
It's in the basement, I think.
In the basement? Have you ever been down there, Steve?
Not recently.
Anyway, I mean, if you can get past about what this was used for 100 years or nearly 100 years, I think it's pretty spectacular when you're upstairs and you stand in that turret and you look out. There's a lot of historic fabric left in there, and one of the sad thing is that they, there's this beautiful spiral staircase, and then the wood surrounds the windows and doors. They flocked it like with plaster flocking. It's decorative. And that's what they want to get off the windows on the inside. And they already started with the handrail to that staircase, and they got all that flocking off, and it's beautiful oak. There's like 7 fireplaces, and they've restored 2 of them. And he's got this guy working with him, and they've done pretty nice works. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I think by time, if and when Mr. Riley ever gets this done, the use will probably have changed from a home for foster kids to something different.
Thank you, Mary. John, did you have any other comments? Okay. I see this as sort of a maintenance project, in essence.
Well, the windows, it is maintenance.
It's maintenance.
I think what's important is always, if it was just the roof, I would sign off on it without bringing it to you, because they're going to put architectural shingles. But when they're messing around with historic windows and they're doing work on historic brick, I really like to bring it to the commission, because that just adds the strength of that, that we got to do it to preservation standards.
Thank you, Mary. I move we approve the COA as presented for 213 North Montana. Do I hear a second? John has indicated he would second. Sorry, Stacy. Okay, next time, Tracy. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion on the question? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so then we have another design review at 26 East Silver Street. Mary, would you briefly outline this for us, please?
So this is a window replacement project and a new sign. It's this little, well, not little, kind of shop building on East Silver, and it's a non-contributing element of the landmark district at this point, but I still think it's important to bring it to the HPC to add the authority that we don't want inappropriate alterations. So here's the front facade, which is north, facing to the north. I mean, yeah, it's facing to the north. So that you see those two big display windows that are at the, what would be the left or right end of the building. That's the west end of the building. They're going to replace those. They're wood sash now, and they're going to replace them with galvanized aluminum. They'll be bronze colored, and they'll be same size, fill the openings. On this east wall, which is the older historic part of the building, there are, I think, 10 2/2 double hungs or wood sash. They're going to replace those with Anderson Series 100s. They'll be 2/2 single hungs. And then on the west wall, which I couldn't get a very good picture with, I think there's 4 or 5 of these large industrial sash windows. You can see a detail of one of the windows there. They're multi-light. They're going to replace those with anodized aluminum sash, which will be bronze colored windows, and they'll have a grid to make a mutton pattern. It'll be metal, and it'll be in between the 2 panes of glass, and it'll be that same basic configuration. So that's the window replacements, and then the sign, our sign expert here designed this little sign to go above the door for their business, and if you want to talk about that, John?
Yeah, it's just a real simple sign. It's just dye bond panel with high-performance vinyl on it and have half-inch spacers in behind it, and that's, yeah, it's just very inexpensive, yeah, so it's just for the ID there for their building, so.
Thank you, John.
And it's spelled correctly.
Yeah, and that's a mock-up, it's
Sure,
not there yet.
Sure. Mitzi, did you have a comment?
So there's also a flag sign on the corner, or whatever you call that, is that,
That's already done, yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I did that one
Okay.
last July.
okay.
Well, in reality, there's really not much adverse effect to the historic district with this
No.
project.
But there could be. They want to put, they did want to put up a chain link fence around the whole thing with vinyl. And I said, yeah. No. They can do that with their own money. This is another URA project, excuse me.
All right, well, any other comments from the commission on this project? Would someone like to make a motion to approve or disapprove this? Tracy?
I'd like to make a motion to approve 26 Beehive as presented.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bobby. It's been moved and seconded to approve the COA at 26 East Silver. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye?
Do I have to excuse myself on this?
No, John,
okay.
you're fine.
I'm an aye.
I don't think so. Okay, it's unanimous. Move on with the window replacement. Okay, we have a demo review, a COA at 418 Pennsylvania. Mary?
Yeah, so this little house is over in Pennsylvania. It's a very short little street to the east of the federal building, between Copper Street on the south and Gannon Street on the north. And the owner bought this house with the intention that he was going to rehabilitate it. And then when he investigated it further, he decided that he needed to do a reconstruction because the foundation isn't good. Now, this house is just this simple front gable house. It's basically, it's a 2-story house, the first story, the main level, and then with a full, almost full daylight basement in, except the north and west sides of the house are kind of built into the hillside. It was built in the 1890s, and it does not rest on a formal foundation. I believe it's on timber sills. And when you go into the lower level, the basement. All the walls are covered, especially in the front part, or to the eastern part, which is finished. In the back, the western part against the hillside, there's an area where it's open, and I'll show you a picture of that. But this little house, so here you can see the site map, which is on the right. The house faces west towards Pennsylvania. There's, I just think one other house on this block. There's a big kind of carriage house next to it, or wood garage next to it. The other photo is from the north looking south, so you can see how this house is kind of situated in this hole. It has been very extensively remodeled on the exterior. I forgot to put in the historic photograph from the photograph from 1959. By 1959, its original drop siding had been covered with asbestos shingle siding. The front porch had come to its current configuration. I mean, the roof is probably original, but now it was supported now on metal posts, which wouldn't have been done in the 1890s. And then they have a 1950s door there, and then that corner window, and is definitely a later modification. And now the exterior walls are covered with vinyl siding. I mean, it really doesn't display, it has its form, scale, and massing, but no basic original materials. Here's the back. You can see that there was a fire up on the upper corner there, and that melted away the vinyl siding, and you can see the charred original drop siding underneath. And there's the doorway to the basement apartment, and there's no connection between the main story and the basement. If you look on the Sanborn maps, they actually called it a duplex. Inside it's not in bad condition. Here's a picture on the left looking towards, I guess, the living room. There's the kitchen, looks like remodels from the 40s or 50s, that knotty pine. And then in the basement, it's partially finished, kind of falling apart. But then if you go up against that west hillside, you can see how the foundation is formed. They took planks and pushed them up against the dirt, and then put nailed planking or legging onto it. And so it's really not a formal foundation. I mean, this is a very difficult decision to make. I've talked a lot with the owner. He wants to rebuild a house of the exact, pretty much like it is now, its footprint, but have it be a 2-story house with a 2-story hip roof porch on the rear. We talked about siding. He would be amenable to using LP siding and appropriate windows. He just doesn't think it's worth it to him to try and restore this house with the condition of the foundation. He doesn't believe it'll be marketable after that. I don't know about that, but I really have a hard problem with this house because its lack of integrity. So that is why I recommended, and this is just a recommendation, that you all consider approving the demolition permit with 2 conditions. And one condition is that he will be bringing a design review COA to the HPC for approval prior to the demolition of this house. This house cannot be demolished until we approve that demolition permit, and I think I put in there, and he gets building permits, so that it, just doesn't go down and something, and then nothing happens. Also, a condition for salvage.
All right, very well. So we're not going to approve this unless he submits a design COA, or would that be later?
The condition, what I will do is I will send this to building, if you approve what I wrote, I will send this to building codes, and they will not issue a demolition permit to him until the HPC approves the design of the new construction.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on this? Yes, Bobby Stoffer.
Mitzi, is he amenable to that too? To bringing his plans and having this contingent on?
Yes, 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 he's very amenable to that. I think he is somebody that goes around and remodels houses and flips them, and he sees opportunity in Butte, and that's what he really wanted to do here. He says he likes historic houses, and he likes to fix them up, and he cares about historic integrity, and so he's actually provided me some plans, but I just got them a little while ago, and they need some tweaking before I would bring him, and he has no problem with this, kind of stepping it, because he said the soonest that he would actually start any work would be March. And he wants to have all his ducks in a row before he starts construction. So this is the way I chose to do it, was to go ahead and bring this to him, and then I'll bring, if this is what you want to do, then that's the way it'll go. He definitely is open to suggestions and is very willing to work with the HPC.
All right, but like I say, as to you, Bobby, you're right. Hopefully, he's amenable to this, because it's quite a thing before he even gets going, which we've done in the past. We've asked for a design review of any future construction to be on that site. Like, for instance, over there on West Granite Street, going down the hill where that fellow turned down the house, and he said he was going to do something. He hasn't done anything, but we asked him to do that. So I would move that we accept the recommendations for the project at 418 Pennsylvania as per our historic preservation officer. And I don't know exactly how we would, do we make a motion on this right now, or? I'm just wondering.
Correct, you make a motion and you,
Okay,
with the conditions.
gotcha, okay. Yeah, I would move that we approve the demolition COA for 418 Pennsylvania with the stipulations and et cetera, as per our Historic Preservation Commission officer's recommendations. Do I hear a second? John Reardon has seconded it. Any other comments or questions on this? Yes, Tracy.
More for learning. So will he come back and get URA funds for a new build, or it's just the review? And I guess, does URA fund
The URA he could get a URA grant. And
on a
that's
brand new build?
for a new build, yes. But, and that rebuild too would, since he was seeking URA funding, it would automatically come to us for design review at that end as well.
And of course, this demolition is contingent upon him fulfilling the requirements that we're asking.
Yes,
Okay.
beforehand.
Right,
Yeah,
beforehand. Yes.
The building official will definitely work with me and not issue. And I just got to say, I mean, like, this is not a decision I like to make. I hate, but, so because I don't want it to be that people just, the flippers think, oh, I can come in, tear down houses and just build new ones and it's okay, because that's not good preservation. If this had just a little better integrity, I'd probably be making a different recommendation to you.
All right.
Can I,
Yes.
he didn't say that he's going to apply for URA funds. And so, do people typically apply for URA grants for things like this? We haven't had that many residential ones, I don't believe.
Gary Dryden, yeah, we've had some. I would, I will encourage him, what I won't encourage or even mention to him is the possibility of URA funds to assist with the demolition. And I don't even want to say that in public. But for the new construction, yeah. I mean, it's like, they didn't involve a demolition, but we did design review on that, the proposed condos across from the Maywa. Remember and then the apartments on Broadway next to the Broadway Cafe. We did design review on those because one was a East Butte RRA project and the other was URA funding. And so we have done this in the past, definitely, and it's part of what our ordinance requires.
This is in the URA boundary?
I believe, yes, I believe so. I'll have to make sure. It may not be, I think it might be, I'm not sure. I'll have to look.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this. Do I hear, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. The consultation on HUD undertaking Nan's West Iron Street project. Mary.
So, as you know, we have a programmatic agreement for undertakings in Butte-Silver that are going to utilize funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And then we've done these before. Butte-Silver has this, it's a federal involvement, so it falls under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, which requires federal agencies to consider the impact of their undertakings on historic properties. The historic property being affected here is our landmark district. Butte-Silver has, under our PA, assumed responsibility for acting as the federal agency. So I am here today acting as the federal agency, not as Butte-Silver Historic Preservation Officer. Anyway, so they've initiated consultation. We initiated consultation with the State Historic Preservation Office on this undertaking, and what I'm here to ask you today is to participate in this undertaking and agree or concur or not concur with my assessment that this undertaking will have no adverse effect on historic properties. So, with that all said, this project is down at the corner, most of it's this big block down at the corner of Iron Street, which is where I-15 comes in to Butte, and Montana Street, which is, a major intersection in our community. Here's a little proposal site plan that I put together. They're proposing there's a line of houses to be built on the north side of West Iron Street here, and a couple of duplexes. And then in the northwest corner of this block is another house and another duplex. I looked on the Sanborn map, and there's never, at least down on the stuff on West Iron Street, there's never been any houses constructed here in the past. Here's kind of what that area looks like. It's kind of at the west end looking east, both photographs. It's kind of a humpy bumpy, and I think they do think there may be some waste there from the Tavonia mine, but I don't know what makes them think that. And here is that lot at the northwest corner of Alabama and Washington, where one house and one duplex would be. Here's another little design plan. Now what they've done is they've developed, there's two basic designs. There's a 4-bedroom house and a 3-bedroom house. And I need to say that Steve Hinnick is the architect on this project. And then they're enlivened by that each one has a full front porch version and a half front porch version. So there'll be some variety in the streetscape when they're done. I couldn't get this better, but this is kind of what it will look like on Iron Street. There'll be the duplex. It's a hip roof building, and then a series of these basic 2 different designs, with one with both, each having a half porch design and a full porch design. I'm just going to run through these real quick. So I think this 1092, I believe this is a 4-bedroom. And here's it is with the front porch. The front of the house is on the left, the lower, and then the back of the house is on the right, the lower. And then here it is with the half porch, which includes a little gable bay on one side, on a side elevation. And then here's the full port version of that. It doesn't have that bay. Oops. Oh no, I don't know what I did. Here's that. Okay, this is the other plan. This is the 3-bedroom. Here's the full front porch. And then here's the half front porch. So when you get the half front porch, you get this one has a little gable peak over the entry on the side elevation. So they're proposing, the original material schedule, they were proposing to use hardy board products, and they've decided that they don't want to use hardy board, they want to use LP. They find that's easier to work with. I asked him to consider LP smooth at 4-inch exposure. He did some investigations. They have to buy that special, and it's twice as much. So I agreed that I think on this that it's okay to use a 6-inch, I think it's 6.5-inch exposure. You know, they're very similar, I think, in many ways to the craftsman style house that was built on Empire Street and up in Centerville. Here's the duplex. It's 2 3-bedroom units, and it's got a hip roof. Here are the different porch columns they're proposing to use, and we've seen these used in other projects as well. They're planning to put the braces, use these knee braces, they make those, and then we'll paint them. And then the different types of shingling that they'll use for the gable ends. Yep. Yep. Anyway, so I recommend approval of this project.
If I may illuminate you a little more on these houses, they have they've had 2 or 3 basic super insulated houses. We took that concept and utilized it on Copper Street as well, and that has a similar look as these. The one thing that I've changed on this versus Empire and everywhere else, I've steepened the pitch of the roof up to an 8 and 12, which I think fits better with the historic district than a typical 6 and 12 or even 4 and 12. So that gives it a little more height, it gives a little more stature. The trim pieces and the way we use the porches is really to differentiate the homes. Their floor plans are similar, at least on those the 2 pair, but it does give you the ability to mix and match. It's a design I've used. We've used them in Anaconda. I'm not sure if they're all built yet, but they're under construction, I believe. So that's my take on it, and I'll recuse myself on the voting. Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say I'd hoped today to include some of the photographs that I took of the houses over on Empire. You know, they're not perfect, but I really think they look nice. And you know, they're painted a little better colored. I certainly like it, and one thing I'm adamant about is everything gets painted. There's no wood. You know, they have a porch over there that is unpainted, and to me that just looks very naked. So I think we've come a long way in these from what they used to be, and I think that this development will really be nice for that important entryway into Butte. You know, it's pretty bedraggled down there, and so I think this will be a nice improvement. We're not demolishing anything, on and on and on.
Very well. Thank you. Any other comments? John Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Henning. I really liked this project and all that. My district is on the south side of Iron, and this complement of the new homes coming into the corridor is going to do nothing but improve that section of town, especially being a main entrance into Butte. Another thing is the fact that we got a good start in that part of Butte. Commissioner Anderson and myself were making things better. We're working on cleaning up. We already had a cleanup over there and removing vehicles. And what I see is in that part of Butte and in that district, there's a lot of development going on over there because it is a nice part of town. And I think this will complement it perfectly. And I think it's a great project. It's going to kickstart probably along, at least from Iron and going up Montana and dropping into other parts of that section in town. So, I mean, you did a good job on designing it too, Steve, to fit in, I think so. I got one question, and I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It's kitty corner from the lot. Have you seen Propeller Park? Yes. What's going on there? Is that
This
historic?
actually in front of our commission, or was recently, didn't we have that in this unnamed neighborhood? We discussed it before, I know that. We discussed it. Yeah, and it can't be moved.
Yeah, but we're gonna have, so we got a place for a park, huh? But no, seriously, I think that this is great, you know, and I think that you did a good job, you know, fitting into the neighborhood with these homes and that, so how can you say no to something like this? We can't build it fast enough.
John, would you like to make a motion for this?
I got it.
Oh, John Weitzel.
Yeah, just a quick question here. A friend of mine, Pat Lyden, he lives right there on Iron Street, right behind that. This is in his backyard there. And I was talking to him a little bit about it today, and he's all for it. He thinks this is really good in that because we got the houses right across the street there. But one of the things there is that's going to be the new alley there?
I believe that's what they're going to put an alley through there because there's really not much, we don't have any garages. So they'll be accessing their property with vehicles from the rear. I mean, you can park along Iron, but
Yeah.
from what the civil engineers were saying, that's what they had in mind is, I think it's probably already dedicated, but there'll be a rear entrance to the thing.
Okay.
I
And then the
believe.
duplex,
Off of
If you look at this, this duplex, maybe this is where the alley's gonna be here. But this Idaho Street's kind of an alley, and I think they're gonna make it a real street, and then you'll come up here, and maybe this goes into here, and this duplex should probably be up higher. But, yeah, that's what they're planning on doing.
okay. It's just that Pat was saying that there was something, he was talking to one of the neighbors there, and he was trying to get an easement there or something, and he was trying to get a loan to refix his house or something, but he was trying to get
Yeah,
a
they show
right-of-way
that
or
all the-
something in there, but it doesn't really concern Pat that much, but yeah, he was just kind of wondering about how that alley and everything was working, because he's had some problems with some squatters and stuff in the backyard there and that, so, and he's happy to get rid of them.
This is kind of the last of the gulches in Butte, you know, the whole west side, St. James Community Hospital and everything, that was a huge gulch at one time. The gulch behind Montana Tech where they put in the field, that was a gulch. And there was a series of them coming up the hill, and probably that's why this hasn't been developed since then.
Yeah.
But I'll give Nan, you know, a good shout out that they're trying, you know, getting these done. So I would entertain a motion, please.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion that it is concurring with the undertaking. Do I hear a second? Tracy Miller has seconded it. Any other discussion on the project? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And I've refrained from voting. All right, it's on to Pete Brown. HPC comments on our Chapter 4 of the draft Uptown Master Plan. I apologize for not being at the meeting last month when this was presented, but I had a conflict and I couldn't make it. So I'll let you folks take the lead on this one. Mary, would you go over your comments, or the HPC's comments?
Well, so we had a little meeting, it was a subcommittee of Bobby, Mitzi, John Reardon, and John Weissel and I met. We talked over some of the things that we thought needed to be, we needed to comment on. And then I did some heavy-handed editing, and Mitzi did some heavy-handed editing, and then Bobby edited our heavy-handed editing. So it was very difficult, because if you saw that document, it was, 200 and some pages, or almost 200 pages, full of graphics, with, so basically we just lifted the text out and edited it. Usually I edit and track changes, so that will show you the changes you've made to the thing itself, but that became too complicated. So what we ended up with is just the rewrite with comments. I think part of the rewrite is to make it clear reading, to make sure that sentences are complete, that they have a verb, that, and stuff like that. Reorganized a little bit, and then there were some things that, some recommendations, they kind of half did it on forming this special landmark commission to do design review in this special uptown core. I'm not really thrilled about the idea of forming a separate commission to do that. We do a good job, and it's part of our job, and what I'd probably have a problem with is they say they don't want this little core to be elevated above the rest of the landmark district or other historic properties in Butte, but when you make a special landmark commission, that is what'll happen. And another argument is that we're a volunteer board. It's hard enough to get one good board together to do design review to preservation, let alone another special board. We're supposed to have 3 people with expertise, if available in the community. We have an architect, historic architect, archaeologist, and a historian here, and then 3 other people with an interest in preservation, including a real estate agent. In the past, the HPC has always had uptown retail business owners, but we don't right now, but we do have 2 people that have their businesses in the landmark district, Mitzi and Steve. And certainly we are very welcome to, if members of the Uptown Association or other groups want to be part of the HPC, they need to apply to the chief executive. I have asked people in the past, a couple people, it was someone that owned a restaurant in town, and they're very, very busy. So that's what I have to say. They maybe, if they want to add a couple people, whatever, but to make a separate commission, I'm very opposed to that. Definitely that if we have design guidelines and standards, which we, would be nice to have for that. There's nothing wrong with those being developed for this commercial core, local ones that look at our local resources. And it would just be this commercial core, so it would mostly be just for commercial buildings. That's fine, as long as it's understood they have to meet Secretary of Interior standards for the rehabilitation of for the treatment of historic properties. And we and it's mostly rehabilitation, what we do, adaptive reuse. What else did I? Oh, it's just certain things like, all these things that we need to do a survey and make available, all this stuff. Well, our landmark district has been surveyed. We'd have all that information. If they want to resurvey, they don't, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'd rather see the money go into bricks and mortar, but, I just wanted to clarify some of the stuff so it doesn't act like we've come a long way. We have a lot of information. It's available. It would be great to have our webpage updated with more links and stuff like that. I think every department in the county could use a good update, and I think that's maybe something that Butte-Silver both should look at, a comprehensive thing. I am going to ask IT people to help me to get some more stuff on. So that's the gist of our major comments. I wanted to stay away from the rest of the document and just focus on this chapter that has to do with historic preservation. I did make some changes or suggestions. Some of their financial incentives aren't there anymore. Other ones were missing, like the Montana History Foundation grants. I think they really need to emphasize what the URA does for the uptown more. That's the major source of funding for rehabilitation of historic buildings and new infill construction. So anyway, hopefully, I would hope that you all had a chance to read these over, and if you had any comments and would like to provide them to me or make them now tonight, otherwise we could approve these and I will forward them to their committee.
Any comments for Mary concerning this from the commission? Anybody on that committee want to add? John Reardon?
I read the reply and all that, and I'll tell you what, it's really well done from where we started and all that. And I think that what's very interesting about it is everything is answered diligent. It's just done. There's no holes there. Let's put it that way. And it seems like these people that are coming at us and all that with these changes and that, it seems somewhat, and maybe I shouldn't make this comment in public, but they don't really know where they're going with this yet. They just got a bunch of stuff flying around out there. But I just really want to thank Mary and the ladies that did this reply, because I think it's really well done and pretty much says where the Historical Preservation Committee is at, because they still don't realize what this committee has done for Uptown Butte and why all the people want to be here now to see these buildings and things like that. I think that it needs to stay where it's at, and it needs to be supported by the people of Butte as it was before, and look where we're at now. So I want to thank everybody that participated in that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else want to comment on this? John Weitzel.
Yeah, I'd like to ask all the members here, I've been given a lot of thought about this. And some of the stuff, I know we're pretty much stick with the chapter 4 with it, but there's some other outlying situations here with this. One of the things, is just kind of, like I mentioned the other night there about, leave the streets alone. And there's not a whole bunch of pedestrians out there at this time. And I look at that albatross that they want to put in the middle of Montana Street with the arch and everything, and I'm looking at that, and that money could be much more spent on the facades of the buildings. The other night when I was going uptown there, when I was leaving Maloney's there, and I looked down Broadway Street. Broadway Street is dark, from Main Street toward Montana Street, and an awful lot of this, and I'm not trying to put anything with the sign business, but the streets are dark in Uptown Butte, and I think an awful lot of we could put a lot more emphasis on that. The uptown area, we all have to, we all go up there and that, but there's, like myself, I live up on 7th Street, Mary lives above there, and there's no grocery stores or anything above. And, my nieces and nephews all live above Walkerville up there. So to go to the grocery store, we have to go through Uptown Butte, and Main Street is the only street. I mean, and so, and I spend an awful time up in uptown Butte, so when I go down Main Street to go to the grocery store, I'm not checking out the buildings and stuff, I see them all the time. I'm just kind of concerned about them trying to make this uptown area a tourist-only type of a deal. And without having the stores, with all the empty buildings in uptown Butte, without having businesses with them, so much of that decorating the streets to me is just lost. I mean, it's just pixie dust, and people are not going to move to Butte because we have bike lanes or we have trees down the middle of the boulevards or anything like that. And when you look at these other thriving communities, the historic districts and that, the facades of the buildings are all beautiful. They got the warm, inviting signage and stuff. And I don't know how to address everybody in that committee that wants to do all this crazy stuff. You know, I would just like to see them slow down a little bit and just concentrate on the buildings and the infrastructure with that. And I just kind of concerned that if this gets out of hand, you know, next thing you know, like next summer, they'll be putting in bump outs and all this other stuff, where I think the core of this should be is the facades of the buildings and the lighting on the streets. And go with that, and for our first baby steps, let me put it that way. Thank you.
Right. Well, Mitzi has a comment.
I like what has been put together, and I hope that we can vote to say this is our comments that we want to send to this committee. We don't know how they will receive them, or if any of those comments will be incorporated in the final product. However, we do know that the Council of Commissioners must vote to adopt it, the final version of it, as part, if it is supposed to be some part of the uptown growth and planning, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know exactly what all that language is, but I will say this. If we see in the final document that the things that we think are critical, such as not having another commission that essentially takes some of the responsibilities away from the Historic Preservation Commission, we should send our comments directly to, we should send the document directly to council as part of the HPC's comments on whether or not they should adopt the final document.
Very well. Would you care to make a motion to approve the comments that Mary has put forth and our subcommittee has produced to the makers of the master plan? I'll so move that. Do I hear a second? John Reardon seconds it. Any other discussion on this? No. All right. All those in favor of the comments on HPC for Chapter 4, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I would just like to say, John, you know, Weitzel, I think there's a lot of people that probably agree with what you're saying. And it's really important to express your opinions at council on those other things. At council.
Okay, so, okay, and the other thing, another question I do have too, and I do have some other friends of mine and stuff, they want to contribute that, and they mentioned something the 5th of...
Your mic, turn on your mic, please.
The 5th of November is the deadline to have the written comments to go to the council, I believe.
I don't know about that. I do think they have, you can provide written you can provide written comments to the Uptown Association. But if I was writing comments on my own, I would provide my comments to the association as well as my commissioner.
Okay.
And if, you know, I just don't think this needs to be stuffed down our throats in, you know, that I mean, council can probably say when they're going to.
So last week at the council and all that, they were there. And basically, the council didn't even know, I don't know if you people read the article in the paper on Sunday and all that, basically about the costing and all that. And that wasn't even, nobody on the council even knew what it was. Well, come out at the meeting that basically this study that, and these drawings and all that costs the URA and the taxpayers of Butte $200,000 to be where they're at now. So naturally, the question was then, is over a period of time, what was going to be the costing to the taxpayers for over this 5 or 10 year period? They had no estimate. And I get it, we're in the construction business, but I mean, if you're out there soliciting a project, you should have some kind of idea basically what you're going to do. I mean, it doesn't have to be to the penny and all that. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot to read, and it isn't very well done. I mean, you guys went through it, I read through it and all that. They have things like tearing down the fence at the original park and opening that up and making that accessible to the public. That's one of their big pushes and things like that. And prior to the meeting, Steve Hennick and I were visiting, and this whole thing, I would like to see a total cost of the money that we've had, the people of Butte have brought forward to bring business uptown. I'm a Butte guy. I'd love to see it and all that. But I think this is basically an overkill by people that are basically not from here to get control of what this committee has been doing. And there again, everybody from Butte has a bigger input than everybody coming in. I got a little bit scolded as being a senior citizen and didn't want to see changes. I know it's up to the younger people coming up and all that, but I don't think they want to be completely overrun with this situation either. I think they're more amazed about the turnouts where there's going to be an outdoor restaurant and all that, but I reminded them that basically the outdoor restaurant only lasts about 3 or 4 months here in Butte. So why do we get attached to them? You know, I get it, but so I know there's going to be a battle, and they're really pressing this time limit. It's going to come into December. I would get it out. If are you on the agenda tomorrow with this, or is anybody on the agenda? Here's what we can do, people. That we call the commissioner secretary, and if there's something on the agenda, you can hit it right off and make a comment. You can express yourself, and then at the end or at the beginning, if it's on the agenda, you can do that. Otherwise, you have to wait to the end. But I think I mean, in all sincerity, I think that it's time right now, out of the gate, to take the bull by the horns on this one, because I'll tell you what, there's some people here, and there's some people that have some money that are involved silently that want to see Uptown Butte change drastically. So I just think that everybody should keep an eye on it, talk with your people, talk with your families, and go from there. That's how big it's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else off the cuff, anything else they'd like to mention right now on that item? Hearing none. Hearing none. Let's see what HPC support for our National Park Initiative is all about.
Well, at last month's meeting that you missed, Holly Sando, who is, I always say she's part of the Friends of the National Park. It has a more formal name. But she has kind of taken over Ed Banderob's in spearheading the creation of a national park in Butte. And she explained what that initiative is about more to us. It's not about making all of Uptown Butte a national park. It's just the National Park Service would have a presence, a building or two, and then they would assist other entities like museums. You know, they would in promoting their sites. You know, I think there's a lot of work ahead, and as I always tell Mitzi, I'll be dead by the time this happens. But I'm on the committee, and I think Holly just wanted to have the HPC vote on this, and if they would support this if they support this initiative or not. So that's what I'm asking, is for a motion and a vote to support or not support this initiative.
Thank you, Mary. I apologize again for not being there last month. My only comment is the national park, when you're in a national park, it's their way or the highway.
But
Don't leave your cooler out unless it's in a hard-sided vehicle. I know, I was,
certainly has been a lot of concerns. And probably the group that's had some of the strongest and biggest concerns is the World Museum of Mining, because, you know, they don't want it to be associated with anything that would control or adversely affect Butte's mining industry, and this wouldn't. And that, I mean, I do believe, because I've seen it in other places, where they just have, like here, my dream would be that they would take over the Insamo. I mean, I don't think this is going to happen, and they would make the Insamo into a world-class visitor center, and they would promote that. And in their promotion of that, they would promote on their website and things to do, they would promote other opportunities in Butte, like the Maywa Museum, like the World Museum of Mining, you know, that they would promote Butte on a wider scale, but their presence would just be one facility.
all right, thank you. Any other comments? Mitzi?
So I've had some reservations about it, but my reservations are kind of disappearing because Holly has formed a good committee of people that know this community and are trying to pull together things that would reflect the importance of the history of this town. And this would be an opportunity to highlight it and to let other people see it. So although we're talking in the long run, I think the path that they have taken in order to identify this initiative has certainly gone a lot farther than Ed Randrob was able to take it, and thank him for starting it. But they have really, so far, have a good approach to how to move forward with this. And so I would say that I will vote for support for the initiative as it is right now.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Of the two that we just spoke of, I'd do the national park over the master plan. I think we get more funding and promotion and stuff, get more people here to see Butte. That's my thought.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Bobby Stoffer.
I'm really excited about the National Park Initiative, and I think it would be a great way to tell Butte, spreads Butte's story to the nation and bring more people here, capture them between Yellowstone and Glacier. And in terms of, I just wanted to say something about the master plan. It seems like the master plan is only, and maybe I don't realize enough about it, but it seems like it's a document of suggestions, and it will be up to the people of Butte to decide which suggestions they would want to pursue or not, and that the people who have been commissioned to produce it, once it has been adopted as a document of suggestions, their role will diminish, and it will be up to Butte to decide to pick and choose what goes forward and what does not. But maybe I'm off base. I guess that's my hope for the master plan. And I would.
I agree. I think that's typically how these master plans go. We'd update our countywide master plan every 10 years, I think, as a general planning document, and it gives a bit of a guideline to what you might want to do, but each increment of change has to be approved through a process. Isn't that correct, Mary?
Yeah, this would be adopted as part of Butte's comprehensive plan, and I do agree. I mean, I think you do have the people that produced it will go away, but we do have this Uptown Association that, you know, I think it has to be more than, it's going to be more than just the Uptown Association deciding. Because I do think there are some, like it is a big thing. I think there, I mean, I would like to, I've always wanted better lighting in the uptown and more period appropriate. That's something that is very attractive to me. You know, bump outs, and a lot of the things that they're proposing, I mean, it's just kind of up to the individual property owner. You know, so, but I did take the chapter on the historic preservation component a little more, because, you know, we got singled out, not like the URA or other people to be totally revamped, and they just didn't, I don't think they came to this commission enough at all, really, on a one-to-one basis, and really learn, I mean, they were reciting the 2007 ordinance instead of the 2015 revisions, and they didn't know we've had this inventory. I mean, it's like, all you had to do is come and ask. You know, it may not be out there in a digital format. So I think we can move forward. But I do think if there are people, I mean, but that's what I say, but if people have their concerns, as a Butte citizen, you should voice your concerns and get your concerns out there to your commissioners, and you can comment on the plan and send it to the Uptown Association. So I'm just trying to, I don't think as a whole that we should comment on, the HPC should comment on anything, just this chapter 4.
Thank you. Getting back to where we were. The National Park Initiative. Would someone like to make a motion to concur with the initiative and I guess lend our support to it? Since I wasn't at that presentation, I don't really feel like I should make the motion. Great. Do I hear a second? Second. It's been seconded by John Reardon. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Great. Okay, how about a staff or member report?
Right now, I am finalizing our semi-annual report as a certified local government to the State Historic Preservation Office. And so one of the things that I need to do is report on volunteer hours, as I've done in the past. So I have a little sheet that I made for everybody, and I'm going to pass those out, and you need to look them over, and if you agree, you could sign it. Inspections for demolitions during that time. One was 407 Virginia, and the other one was, I can't remember. Short Street. So some of you came to those and some of you didn't. I gave you an hour for each one that you came to. Then Bobby always does a little help with me, helping to make me look better. And so make sure, if you want to make sure that I got your, because I make mistakes, but if you're satisfied, you can sign it and give it to me at the end of the meeting. I've keeping everyone appraised on Basin Creek. You know, at the last time, we had the bid opening on September 8th, and we were only able to open one of the bids, and it was very high. So I applied for a SARTA grant, hoping to get some more money. SARTA has decided not to consider that project. John Reardon and I are meeting with J.P. Gallagher tomorrow to talk a little bit about that. On tomorrow night's agenda, you know, we were awarded a grant from the tourism office to help with the handicap accessible improvements. It's, you know, just under $15,000. We've had some oopses with the contract, but now the contract is going before council for them to authorize the chief executive to sign it. That's tomorrow night. So I don't know what's going to happen at that meeting. But I'll just keep you appraised, and hopefully we've been talking on ways that we can hopefully move this project forward, but I know that's probably a bunch of vague stuff, but that's kind of where we're at. I did want to show you some pictures of some fun things, and you've already seen them because just real quick. Oops. Da-da-da-da, oops. Oop. There's 40 East Broadway. Lots of work left to do. I think the biggest surprise is the Beehive Building, which is the brick building in the middle with the arches. It's really in far better condition than I ever expected. As anticipated, a lot of the projecting detailing was cut off. The electric building, which is the white terracotta building to this side. And then this other electric cells building was always it was always a funny building. But I think there's things that they can do to clean it up. So anyway, I think it's very exciting to see this going on. And, you know, this building is proposed for reuse. You know, the Montana studio is going to have their production facility there, and then they want to make other parts of the building, as maybe apartments and stuff like that. And then I took another picture today, because if you guys have been back to see what's going on at the North Aurora building, they have started deconstructing the damaged west wall and basically the western third of the north wall. It's a very professional undertaking going on there. I took a picture today, and they're down, not all the way, well, all the way? Yeah. All the way? Oh my gosh, I didn't see it. It's pretty amazing. And, you know, it's quite a lift system they have there. They've been saving the brick, and so it's just so wonderful to see somebody putting such a major investment into a historic building. People say, oh, that's got to be costing millions of dollars, and, you know, it is expensive, but the work will also include plumbing, wiring, and all that other stuff. So I think in the long run, you know, to build new, it'll be in there, and they're doing it right. So this is very exciting. I think something that we all can be proud of for fighting for so many years to save this building. That's all I have.
Thank you for your inspirational talk. I appreciate it. Wow.
A question, because me and Mr. Hennick, we talked about it before, but this company, they do the sheet metal work, that's W.F. Norman, and they do all the cornices, they do all the ornamental tin stamp ceilings and everything like that. And I don't know who's in charge of the deconstruction there with the old Montana Power building, but I know, like, I was looking at the center building there, the Beaver Block there, and the cornices that they make would probably fit on there really. I mean, they're just gorgeous. They got like 1,300 when you go to the website, the WF Norman, you can get to they've been around for 120 years. And they do all of the columns, they do all the rosettes, they do the stamp ceilings. They did the stamp ceiling for the Kaiser House down in Peaburg down there. And then I was talking to Kevin Hunter, I can't remember the guy's name, but all he did was he just sent in the measurements from corner to corner in the top bedroom up there, and they sent it all in. It was already all patinaed and everything with the rosette that goes up for the decorative chandelier that was in there. I'm just saying because I think it'd be so much better to put up this old original stuff rather than some of the stuff that's made, with the plywood and stuff on those cornices.
I will, I have Steve Grover, the property owners.
Oh, okay.
I'm in contact with him, and so I will I know he has an architect on this project. I'm not sure who his architect is, but I will forward that information to him.
That would be sweet, yeah. And
So
just, I mean,
WF
just
Norm?
anything in Uptown Butte that's being redone, I mean, yeah, because like it says, they got all kinds of, and even like on the Thornton building over there, because they make all the sheet metal and stuff that, for the canopies and stuff that take the stained glass windows, the stained glass on the canopies. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous stuff that they put out. And it would fit into Butte just beautifully.
Great, okay, well, I will forward that, because I'm sure, that at first was to get it off, and then they're gonna start planning on how they're gonna do the restoration, so they got a lot of work ahead of them.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, I'm sure not going to be to it next week.
Well, they're moving forward, and that's great. I know I get excited about stuff.
No, I'm excited. I think it really gives a nice texture to the street already. I mean, it really accentuates the texture and fabric, if you will. There are a lot of edges that need work. The whole first floor with its marble cladding. Actually, that addition on the roof is not that objectionable because it's a total contrast to the historic. It's just that the fenestration is a little different. They might have a problem with the... Yeah, I mean, the Sacramento building will be a little more difficult because it's been bricked over, but that's the one on the further to the left. But I think it's a step in the right direction. This curtain wall system was hung on 3 horizontal structural members, and they're taking those off now, welding them. They have to be cut off essentially because they've rock bolted them, if you will, into the wall. So that there's a lot of detailing that would remain to be done, but I think overall, it's certainly, I think it'll be a big asset to the Uptown. So, okay. Anything else? Any announcements? No one's pregnant or dead or, okay. Is she going on vacation? Oh, well, that's good. That's good. All right, hearing that, I would move that we end the meeting. Thank you.